Very good afternoon to one and all. Today we are going to see about the various geological dating technique, and particular we are going to see stable isotope. What is the use of stable isotope in geology, and what kind of different techniques we are using for the and what is the use of this one. So in geological dating techniques, we have two different type of dating technique. One is relative technique and another one is the absolute technique. One is relative technique and one is absolute technique. So relative technique are assigning an age to a rock. Relative technique is assigning an age to a rock that puts into a narrow range. So this one is assigning an age to a rock that puts into the narrow range. Whereas the absolute technique is assigning an age to a rock that is a number, that is a 345 million year or something. So I just given you the one example about the what is the exactly radio relative technique or what is the absolute technique. If you have a bunch of guys in a class, now you are studying the class or you seeing the videos of the, so you have some classmate of yours. So may some person if coming into the your classroom, he don't know about the age of the some of the any of the student, what he can say to all of you if he don't know the number that you are, if you are 12th or 13th or 14th of age. So you may say that of that looking the body structure and after looking at you, he may say that he is the person is older than you. He is the most youngest person in the youngest child in the class. He may looks like what we can say the a more what we can say the more age for the student according to the height, personality, and all. So that is on the basis of the relativeness of the each other. That is only based on the relativeness of the each other. That relatively he is a younger, relatively he is the older one. Relatively he is a younger one, and relatively he is the older one. Then you have a second absolute technique. Second one, he has the absolute technique. Absolute technique is assigning an age to a rock, assigning an age to a rock, which is a number. Means if he same person is coming into the room and he said he is a 23-year old and 7 months and some days and something like that. That the exactly number he is having with you. That is what the exact number he is having about you. So this is how the relative in the age, in the your what we can say in the geology, the age of the rock, age of the formation of any formation. He or she may be a 13-year-old, she or he may be a 15-year-old. So that is how the age can be assigned to the anyone. Then you have a different kind of stratigraphic or different kind of technique which we use. So you have also a magnetostratigraphy. You have a magnetostratigraphy. What is the magnetostratigraphy exactly? When you have a magnetic reversal and normality, this is a two concept. This is a two concept about the once you have a your what we have a geographic north, what we have another is a magnetic north. One north is a magnetic north, one is a geologic north. They have some a specific degree of the difference of the degree with them. So these two different type of stratigraphic unit you have, and that so what is the? It is a belief that it is a firm belief that after a million year, after a million year, reverse the magnetic north is get reversed to the south. Okay, so it gets to the south, and after million year, it get to the north. So this concept is used. This concept is used to know about the what kind of what is the age of the that current age. So Cron is a nothing but a polarity or normal and reverse interval. Cron is a nothing but a normal interval of So this is known as the normal interval and a reverse interval. This is known as the normal interval and a reverse interval. Then you have a absolute technique. Then you have an absolute technique. So what is the absolute technique is all about? The absolute technique is a fission track dating. Absolute technique is a fission track dating, which measure a decay of uranium 238 by counting number of tracks. So you have an absolute technique which is having a fission track dating of measure decay of a uranium 238 by counting number of tracks. Then you have a radiometric dating. You have a radiometric dating. So radiometric dating means when you have a parents element which converted to the daughter element, and the time period which required to convert the parent to the daughter is exactly known as the half life period, and that half life period is different for the different element, different isotope. Then you have a radioactive decay. Then you have a radioactive decay. There is a three mode of decay: alpha decay, beta decay, and gamma decay. We have a three different type of decay. One is alpha decay, beta decay, and gamma decay. So there is a loss of alpha particle. There is a loss of alpha particle, which convert parent into the element that has nucleus containing two fewer protons. Okay. So alpha decay, beta decay, and gamma decay. This is the three different type of decays we have. The first decay is alpha decay, which is known as the which is having a loss of alpha particle, which is having a loss of alpha particle. Convert parent into the element. Convert parent into the element which has a nucleus containing two fewer proton. Loss of beta particle. Loss of beta particle. So in a loss of beta particle, you have to convert the parent into the element whose nucleus contains one more proton by losing an electron. Then you have a gamma decay, where you have a convert parent into a element whose nucleus has one less proton. So this is the three different type of decay we have in a radioactive decay. Then you have again you have alpha decay of uranium. This is an example how the series has been gone. So it's not a single element can be transfer, or a single element can convert to the another one. It is another to the third one, third to the fourth one, like that only. So in alpha decay of uranium, you have uranium 238 is converted to the 206 late, which is having a stable, which is a stable isotope, whereas the your uranium is a uranium 238 is a unstable one. So what kind of decay is this? Is the alpha decay. So first, uranium 238 is having alpha decay and convert to the thorium 234, which takes around 4.5 into 10 to the power 9 years, something around that. So this is the half life of this one. Then the this one is converted to the thorium. The thorium to convert into the thorium, which is takes around 24.5 days around. Then you have proctatium, uranium 234, which take around a millions of years again. Then you have radium, 15-19 days is required to convert from this radium. Then you have radon, 3.825 days is required to convert radium to radon. Then you have polonium, it's required only minutes to convert polonium. Then you have lead 212, 214, which required 26.8 minutes. Then you have bismuth. Then you have bismuth, which required 19.7 minutes. Polonium, lead, bismuth again, polonium 140, lead 206. So this is how what the other element can be done for the or what we can say the radioactive decay. Then you have a radiometric dating. Then you have a radioactive dating. It is also called as a radiometric dating. Radioactive isotope decay at constant geometric rate after a certain amount of time half of the parents present will survive and half will be decay to a daughter. So in radioactive isotope decay at a constant geometric rate, after a certain amount of time, half of the parent present will be survive and half will be decay to the daughter. So this is how what you can have radioactive isotope decay. What is the half life? What is the half life? So carbon 14, nitrogen 14. So carbon 14 convert to the nitrogen 14 after 5,730 years. After 5,730 years, what the material you need, datable material you need the wood, shade and organic material. Convert from this one to this. Then you have uranium 235. Then you have a uranium 235 which convert into the late 207, which required millions of years. Okay. Then you have a potassium which is converted to the argon again, which required millions of years again. Then you have a uranium 206 again it requires. So this one is having a very we can say the cycles, a long cycle rather than we can say. The all important age equation is n is equal to. So this is what how you can you determine the age of the any. So NO is a number of atom of parent isotope remaining in a substance. N is the number of atom of daughter isotope product through decay. Lambda is the decay constant which depend on the isotope in a question. T is the amount of elapsed time. So this is how you can all we can have all this equation. A more useful equation for age determination is rock age. When the rock age you require to calculate, this is the formula how you can calculate the rock age. So today's what we are going to see the stable isotope used in geology. What is the fractionation, and what is the delta isotope used, and what kind of different study we can do. So isotope is a element with the same number of proton but different number of neutron. Element is the with the same number of proton but different number of neutron. That is your isotope. So you have, for example, you have a sweet 12, 13 and 14. This is the three different isotopes we have. So what happened with this isotope? What happened with this isotope? The proton is the same, but the neutron has been changed. The proton is the same, but neutron has been changed. So this is how you can call the isotope. This is what the element you can call the isotope. So C12, C13 and C14, this is a three different kind of isotope. So when the you can have 12 of 12 is a mass number and 6 is the atomic number. 6 is the atomic number and 12 is the mass number. You can maybe study this one in a what we can say the periodic table. So so what is the what we can say the C12 is a more stable. C12 is a more stable than the C13 and C14. C12 is a more stable than the C13 and C14. So C12 is a stable. C13 again a stable isotope, but C14 is not a stable isotope, and that's what we are using a C14. So if it's not a stable one, it's a more important. If it's not a stable one, it's a more important to the study. Unstable isotope can be used for a radiometric dating. Generally, in a scenario, we have a stable things are more in use, but in this concern, uh, unstable unstable element are more used than the stable one. Unstables are more used than the stable one. While it is true that isotopes are subtle variation of the same element and that they behave the same, as each other as far as chemical reaction are concerned. So you have water, heavy water, and death water. So this is what the isotopic geochemistry can change the composition. So so what is the fractionation is all about? So fractionation gives you the exact number and exact information about the stable isotope geochemistry and what can be a process can operate it. What is the process which is given by the fractionation process? What is the exactly fractionation is? The fractionation is the ratio of stable isotope in a substance before and after the process. So fractionation is when you have fractionate the material in a more kind of the different ratios. So you have an example of this. You have a evaporation. You have a evaporation. You have a H2O plus is required by H2O. That is the cloud. You have a 0.001 fractionation ratio. This is how you can have a geochemistry or a stable isotope geochemistry of this one. The ratio of stable isotope in a substance before and after the process, that is your fractionation. The amount of fractionation is expressed via the fractionation factor and is normalized ratio between the isotope in the two product involved in the process. This is how you can have fractionation in the your surfaces. Then you have a stable isotope geochemistry. Then you have a stable isotope geochemistry. The hydrogen isotope are interesting, but in geology, it is a stable isotope of carbon and oxygen are the most important. So the hydrogen isotope we can see as because this one is at the first number and the water is more important. But in geological studies and in geosciences, in earth sciences, whatever the process that get operated, they mostly involve the carbon and oxygen. They mostly involve the carbon and oxygen in their part. And this is how you can have the stable isotope. This is how you can have a stable isotope ratio in the. So this is how you can have a stable isotope geochemistry. The hydrogen isotope are interesting one. The hydrogen isotope are interesting one, but in geology, it is carbon and oxygen. It is in geology the carbon and oxygen which having the most important, which having the most important. So stable isotope geochemistry, the stable isotope geochemistry is having a two different kind of fractionation. Two different kind of fractionation. One is interglacial, one is glacier. One is interglacial, one is glacier. So in interglacial, you have 16 to 18, 16 to 18 two different kind of isotope we have, 16 and 18. So this the fractionation of this one. So mostly the climatic study, whatever the climatic study which we have, they are isotropically light water evaporites, and from the ocean and return via river, the system it is in balance. System it is in balance. So you have isotopically light H2O. It's in your what we can say the in clouds, and in during the glacial period. During the glacial period, the this one is a vice versa. So isotopically light water evaporates from the ocean and return via river. The system is balanced. The system is balanced. Whereas in the glacier region, you have oxygen 16 and oxygen 18. You have oxygen 16 and oxygen 18, and that is known as the glacier. What we can say the glacier in a glacier environment you can have this type of isotopic study, so this glacier expand forming a new reservoir of the isotopically light water on the land. The sea level drop and the ocean become isotopically heavy. So there is a minor problem with this type of analysis. There is a minor problem with this analysis. The abundance of the oxygen 18, the abundance of oxygen 18 and oxygen 16 is a very low, and amount of fractionation is minutes. Amount of fractionation is minute, but the resulting data are really small number. So it's a quite difficult to calculate this all. The the isotopic data are usually presented using the delta value. The isotopic data are usually presented using the delta value, that is a delta 18O. So when you have a data isotopic delta 18O is divided 18 by 16 in the sample is divided by the standard minus 1 into the 1000. So that is how you can got the delta 18O value. So this is the standard formula which we apply. This is a standard formula which we apply for the isotopic study. And what kind of studies we generally take, what kind of study we generally take, that is coming under, or that is show the different kind of studies. That is different kind of studies. The stable isotope geochemistry. So isotopic fraction of oxygen in the hydrological cycle. Isotopic fraction of oxygen in hydrological cycle is having a evaporation, which is having a lighter isotope evaporation, which is having a lighter isotope evaporates, and the isotope fractionation of oxygen in the hydrological cycle is having a different kind of surfaces and different kind of studies. So ocean is having a water. That water get evaporate. The water get evaporates. So your delta 13, so that value is minus 10. So then again it get heavier isotope condense. The heavier isotope get condensed and drop of the water is there. So drop of the water is there. Then you have this one will be have in the vapor. This will be in the form of vapor, and in the precipitation this will be in the vapor and precipitation. The rainwater get started to pouring out on the surface. So in the form of this one, you have a water vapor and this wall. So this is how you can have isotopic fractionation. So what about this all the study? Why we study this all, and what is the important about this one? So the stable isotopes provide an information about the ice volume. Stable isotope provide information about the ice volume and paleo temperature. So stable isotope provides information about the ice volume and paleo temperature. There is a glacier ice. There is a glacier ice which is having a minus 35. That is what we are already studying in this one. So the delta 18O value will be governed by the different kind of what we can say, the different kind of the value is changes with the time, and the climate is governed the most. So so the first one is the age in a millennial, age in a millennial. So the tectonic event is what the Panama Seaway clauses. So this is, so you can see there is a certain shifting in a certain shifting in a this value, certain shifting in a delta 13 18 O value. And this one is about the temperature. This one is about the temperature. So temperature will govern the delta 13 18 O value. So if you have anomaly of 8 degrees Celsius, anomaly of 8 degrees Celsius, your what does delta 18 O value is around the 0 or 1. So your delta 18 O value is shifted from plus to positive to negative, or likewise according to the climatic changes. How? We've already seen in this scenario how it can be changes, because in a climatic scenario you have always been a changing in a, we know that there is a cycle of glacial and interglacial. In glacial cycle you have almost all the part content is covered by the glacier, and the continental and the other part is covered by the interglacial. So this is how you can study the paleoclimate. This is how you can study the paleo. What is the paleoclimate exactly? Paleo means past. Climate is nothing but the a long-term weather condition of an area. Paleo means past, and climate is nothing but a long-term average weather condition of an area. Uh, so there is a stable isotope which is provide information about the ice volume and paleo temperature. So in the glaciological field, in the paleoclimatological field, what we have a sediment sample, or you have oceanic sample which is retrieved from the core logging and all. So this is what you all have, the temperature and this pressure, or temperature, and what the all the boring and drilling is done with this one. So you have this kind of temperature and this one, and the retrieve of this element, the retrieve of this element core can be the retrieve of the element of this retrievation of the core can take place, and further analysis which is taken by the analysis is conducted by the mostly the instrument called as IRMS. IRMS is the isotopic ratio mass spectrometer. So IRMS is one of the instruments which we use to provide accurate information about this one. So stable isotope, the isotopic values which we taken from the IRMS instrument is very much of use. So how the IRMS is looks like, we will see in the photographs how the IRMS is looks like. This is the IRMS instrument, how it can be looking. This is how your IRMS is looks like. You need to prepare a sample. You need to prepare a sample, and the sample can be proceed for the isotopic analysis using this IRMS instrument. So this is a Thermo Fisher in is the company who is producing this, a Thermo Fisher company which is producing the IRMS instrument, and this is how the all the assemblages looks like. This is how all the assemblages looks like. So the deflection of the any element can be happen, can be uh, and whatever the you need some argon and this gas for the to run this instrument. So this is how your stable isotope mass spectrometer can be looks like. So I hope you can able to see the this instrument. So there is a different companies which prepare this one, but Thermo Fisher is the leading one of the leading company, and so this is how you can have a sample slot. You can have a sample slot where you can put the sample for preparation of sample. There is a different for the preparation of sample. You have what we can say the different for preparation kit, and you have to very take care about what is there no contamination has been there. There is no contamination is the this is a very highly sensitive analysis. This is a very highly sensitive analysis in which you have a different kind of. So this is how you can have one of the what we can say the auto sampler. Then this one is get converted to GC column. Then you have a source iron source, IRMS iron source, and then you have a magnet. So what is the use of the magnet? Magnet is used to deflect different kind of to deflect the different kind of element on the basis of their mass number into the different columns. So you can see that there is a 46, 45, and 42. Three different elements is get separated. Three different elements get separated from each other in the area, in the different area. So this is how you can have what we can say the IRMS. This is what you can have from IRMS, and a different kind of structure and different kind of what we can say the different kind of IRMS, and this one is known as the what we can say the fractionation can be happen, and this all the values of 46, 45, or 44, 44, 45, and 44, 46. This is a three different element which we receive, and the amount of each one is get calculated. Amount of each one get calculated from this one. So now the question is how the it can be used. So this is how you can use this table. Then you have a stratigraphy about the a different means you have already been have some data about it. You have some data already which is published. Now we have this. This is what the data from 110 kilo year means more than lakhs year. So you can see that from 10,000 year to the present. Now the from the younger dryas is nothing but the period of the colder period cycle. So you can have a 4.5 value of the delta 18O, which is now shifted to the 3, which is now shifted to the 3. So this is how you can have a shifting of this element. This is how you can have a shifting of this element. So 4.5 is the delta 18O value, which is shifted to the young 3, during the Holocene. So that much of the shifting is it's get take place. So a stable isotope is providing information about time, how it can be changes with the different time. So you can have a different values, a different average values of the different isotope. That value you can if, means there is a certain range. There is a certain range in which the this all are mostly get revolving. So you cannot say or you cannot have the that much of confusion when you get the some certain value. You may know about the, if you don't date the sediment, you may about know that yes, this kind of values, this kind of relatively positive or relatively negative value is get into the this zone. So this is how you can have the delta OT18 node. Then you have a eustatic sea level rises. Then you have a eustatic sea level rises. So stable isotope provides information about worldwide sea level changes. The the stable isotope which is provide the information about the worldwide sea level changes. So you can see that there is a 900,000 year history. This is what now 900,000 year history. So this all are the get changes through the different time scale. This is all are the different changes which we get to the different time scale. So this is how you can have a different time zone and the glacial and interglacial. So this figure is considered as the the representation of the oxygen isotope ratio So oxygen isotope ratio may be 3 to 1. Oxygen isotope ratio is maybe 3 to 1 0, and minus 1, minus 2, minus 3. So this is what your all the oxygen isotope ratios are there. So sea level may be rise or uh, sea level may be rise, sea level may be fall into the different aspect. Sea level may be rise and sea level may be fall into the different kind of this one. So uh, you have you can see that there is a certain cyclicity. You can see certain cyclicity like uh, a several glacial and interglacial period, maybe we can say, or you can see that you can see that the warming and what is the difference between warming and cooling in such a short time frame. You can see that between the 11 and 12, you can see between the 5 and 6, you can see between the 15 and 16, 17 and 18. So all are the different time scale which we use to get a different kind of knowledge and different kind of studies we have. So this is how, and this is what we study about the paleo temperature, and this all the data by the oxygen values. So oxygen and the carbon, this is a which we use for the purpose of the paleoclimate, as well as what we can say the age determination and all, and having an application in geology, so much application in geology. So the whatever the what is the use of the paleoclimatic study. So if you don't know the paleoclimatic study, if you don't know the paleoclimate of the region, you may don't have to predict the future, or you don't have a good required good information is required for the any futuristic trend. If you want to set any futuristic trend, you require a good amount of knowledge about the past climate changes. So what climatic changes or what climatic data we have? We have only the data from 1872 and around that. Before that we don't have any data, and that's why you can have what we can say the a paucity of data, because the whatever the instrument we are now, rainbow station and all the meteorological stations we have, that all are the only get deposited and only get installed after the 19th century and onward. So in the context of India and all around the world, the before 18th century you don't have any instrumental data. So that data you need to recalculate, and the calculation must be a more accurate and more what we can say, the more precise and accurate data is needed for the a better understanding of this one. So that's how you can have that's why you can study the a stable isotopic study. That's how you can study the stable isotope uh, for the this one. So this is how you can study the stable isotope. This is how you can study the stable isotope. And I already suggest you that carbon and carbon also important for the what we can say the nutrient supply and what kind of vegetation and all are there. You can also deduce from this vegetation and all the changes from carbon isotope also, whether there is a C3 plants, whether it is a C4 plants are present, what kind of plants are present at there. So this is how are calculated. This is how we are calculated in the system about the stable isotope zones and all. So stable isotope provides information about this all the information about past, what kind of vegetation are there, what kind of fooding of the animals are there, what is the age of there. So there all there when all the stable isotope study is a very important one, and to understand this stable isotope, what is the isotope, and this you should know about the what the isotope is all about, and how we are calculating this all the isotopic study. So this is all about the isotope. Hope you understand this topic about the isotope, use of the isotope and all. Thank you for the having patience and listening to this video. Um, so this is what about the kind of isotope you can more study about the isotope using the different books and all. So there is a book on the stable isotope by the many authors, which you can study, and you can have a better idea about, because there is a different kind of isotope are there, different kind of isotope there are there. Each isotope is having their specific geochemistry. Each isotope is having their specific geochemistry. So there is a mini book on a stable isotope, and some of the book on calcium isotope only. Then you have so you have more books of the stable isotope, one by the many of by the attender. Then you have a book of handbook of the stable isotope. Then you have a stable isotope by Wombecher, and the Williams White is one of the good book for isotope geochemistry on a fundamental of isotope. So this is a different kind of books you can refer to study this topic from for the exam point of view, for a research point of view. This topic is mostly asked and in a NET and CSI NET and this examination. Also, when you are going for a research, you can have this kind of studies in that one. So this is how you are all. This is how you can have a study about this stable isotope and all. Um I hope you understand this stable isotope topic concept. And if you have any question, you can post ask me. And you have a question on your LMS which you have to solve. So thank you for listening this. Thank you all.